Hello to every soul listening right now, the ones who carry a fire in their hearts that never goes out. Maybe people have called you strong, stubborn, maybe even too intense. But tonight, let me tell you something different. Beneath that fire lives a heart so gentle even the universe itself would bow to it. We're about to begin the journey of Aries, a place where kindness meets strength, where light is born from both love and pain. This isn't just a story about astrology. It's a story about people, the ones who have been misunderstood, who once burned for what's good, and who finally learned to turn their own fire into wisdom. Now, take a slow, deep breath. Feel that flame inside you begin to move softly. It no longer burns, it illuminates. And from that quiet glow within, our journey begins. From the sacred fire, the true essence of Aries, the first thing humanity ever saw when darkness covered the world was fire. It didn't just bring light, it carried something deeper, life itself. Aries was born from that same flame, not the kind that destroys, but the kind that loves, that illuminates, that gives. When an Aries walks into your life, they bring warmth, the warmth of courage, of faith, of being seen, and of being real. At their very core, Aries lives through the heart. They may stumble, they may be misunderstood, but they never stop believing in goodness. Every act, impulsive or intense, comes from one pure intention: to live honestly and to protect what they love. Like the flame in meditation, both fierce and still, Aries carries that duality. Outside, they are heat. Inside, they are light. They are not afraid to begin, not afraid to burn fully. That's why their lives are vivid, full of colors, full of wounds, but also full of miracles. People often say Aries is impulsive or quick to anger, but few see what hides behind that spark: a sensitive heart trying to protect its own purity. They don't get angry to win. They get angry to keep their soul from being polluted by what's wrong. It's not the fire of destruction, it's the fire of awareness. A flame that knows when to stop, when to keep its warmth for those who deserve it, and when to withdraw its light from where it's no longer valued. In Buddhist teachings, fire is a symbol of enlightenment. Once touched by awareness, it no longer burns, it purifies. And Aries is just like that. They appear in our lives as a lesson in purity, in the sacred balance of kindness. Because kindness without wisdom can drain the spirit. But the kindness of Aries is kindness with boundaries. They love with everything, yet they know when love must end. They help others selflessly, yet they sense when help turns into burden. That's the quiet art of a soul that has learned to listen to itself amid the noise of the world. The image of Aries is like sunrise, radiant, unstoppable, alive. But sunrise reminds us, light only has meaning because we've known the dark. The fire of Aries is the same, it burns brightest where respect and love still exist. When disrespected, that fire doesn't die, it transforms. From gentle warmth, it becomes a storm of awareness, teaching others that no kind soul can be taken for granted forever. The same fire that warms your heart can also burn down what you neglect. It's not revenge, it's balance. Because in the universe, every energy seeks harmony. And Aries is that harmony between love and limits, between giving and holding, between fire and light. They exist to remind us that kindness is not weakness. It's disciplined strength, knowing when to open your heart and when to close it. Within every Aries lives a monk, a warrior, and a child. A pure soul still believing in goodness. When you truly understand them, you'll see that every outburst from Aries is really a prayer, a plea for the world not to forget that sincerity still matters. And when this story of fire comes to a close, you'll realize something beautiful. The light of Aries doesn't just shine outward, it shines inward too. Every wound, every trial shapes them, refining them into a clearer, steadier, wiser flame. Like a river carving stone, not loud, not rushed, yet powerful enough to shape mountains. The journey of Aries flows the same way, quiet but unstoppable. And from that sacred fire within, another story begins, where love meets its own boundaries and kindness learns to protect itself. The love of Aries is like a flame in a cold night. It's not loud, not showy, but you can feel its warmth sinking into every cell when they are near. Aries loves the way fire loves, completely, honestly, never halfway. When they love, they don't just give their heart, they give their soul, their inner light to the one they trust. They believe in goodness. They believe love can heal, can help two souls grow together. Aries loves with the instinct of someone who wants the world to be better. And they always begin with a rare purity, a light born not of logic, but of faith in people. But there are moments when that flame is tested. When their kindness is mistaken for weakness, when promises are broken, when loyalty is met with silence or lies. Aries doesn't scream, doesn't retaliate. They simply pull their fire back like someone slowly closing their open hands. They don't want to become the flame that burns. They just choose not to keep warming anymore. And that is how a grown heart learns to protect itself. In Buddhist wisdom, love without awareness becomes attachment. But compassion with understanding is the path to freedom. Aries knows this deeply. They don't love to possess, they love to share, to nurture. But when that giving is taken for granted, they stop. They know that to love the wrong way is to burn themselves. When Aries withdraws, it's not anger. It's a prayer for their own soul to rest, to heal, to be reborn. They don't leave from hatred, but from understanding. That silence can speak louder than any explanation. A flame cannot live forever in a room without air, just as a heart cannot stay open to someone who no longer values it. Some may look at their distance and call it coldness, but know its warmth lifted to a higher state, the warmth of awareness. They choose not to repeat the same cycle of pain. They choose peace over proving a point. They choose healing over revenge. One of the greatest lessons Aries brings to this world is the boundary of kindness. They teach us that kindness is not meant to be exploited. It must be given to the right places, to the right people. They can forgive, but they will never let the same wound be opened twice. Because forgiveness for them is freedom, not permission. And maybe in that quiet moment when Aries softly closes a door, they are also opening a new one. A journey back to themselves. Like a pilgrim leaving a temple after lighting the last incense. They walk away with gratitude, carrying light, but leaving behind everything that no longer aligns with their soul. There's something sacred about those born with fire energy. They never truly go dark. Even when hurt, they still glow, only now that glow turns inward, illuminating their own heart. They learn to love themselves the way they once loved others, passionately, faithfully, and without judgment. If you were once loved by an Aries, understand this. When they leave, it isn't the end. It's a comma before the next chapter, where they learn to love themselves again. And if you are an Aries listening to these words, remember your love is a sacred flame. Don't let anyone put it out. Let it shine, let it warm the world, but know when to close it to protect the peace inside your heart. Sometimes you have to pause to truly hear your heart's voice. And in that stillness, Aries finds themselves again, not as someone defeated, but as someone who has mastered the art of balance. When night falls, the fire doesn't disappear. It simply retreats inward, glowing quietly, waiting for dawn. And within that soft warmth, a new story begins. A story where love is not just a feeling, but a force of loyalty, of sacred protection, ready to be told once more. Some people are born to love, and some are born to protect what they love. Aries belongs to both. In a noisy world where kindness is often mistaken for weakness, Aries is that rare soul who still chooses to rise, not to prove they are right, but to protect what is right. They don't talk much, they act. When someone they love is hurt, Aries doesn't stop to think. They react on instinct, the instinct of a sacred fire that knows the difference between compassion and injustice. Picture this: a winter afternoon, someone standing quietly against the wind. Their eyes glow not from hate, but from a quiet determination that says, "I won't let the darkness spread any further." That's Aries when they are protecting someone they love. In their heart, there's no room for fear, maybe because they know. If no one dares to speak, if no one dares to act, then the darkness will keep growing, so they step forward, even if it hurts, even if they stand alone. They'd rather carry a wound than watch injustice win. In Buddhist wisdom, compassion isn't just silent smiles, it's courage. The willingness to stand up for what's sacred, even when storms are raging. Aries understands this deeply. They don't fight for ego, they fight for truth. When they witness injustice, their soul cannot stay still. Their inner flame begins to move. It's not blind anger, it's karma awakening. Karma flows through integrity, and Aries becomes its vessel, the heartbeat of justice itself. The world often confuses gentleness with weakness, but for Aries, gentleness is strength. They can be soft, but they will never let that softness be trampled. They won't let anyone harm those they love. When Aries stands for you, you'll feel it. That strange energy that's both warm and fierce, protective and grounding. They don't need weapons. Their presence alone makes dishonesty step back. Yet like every soul of fire, Aries knows the boundary of protection. Once they realize the person they've been shielding no longer values that love, they withdraw, silently, without anger, and that silence is louder than any scream. You'll always remember what it felt like to be protected by them, but you'll remember even more the day they stopped. Because when their flame no longer faces you, you'll understand you've lost the rarest thing of all, the trust of an honest heart. In this life, few gifts are greater than having an Aries on your side. They will fight with you, they will guard you with every breath they have, but they'll also teach you this. To protect is not to control. True love knows when to stand up and when to let go. Without wisdom, protection becomes a cage. If someone once stood up for you even just once, remember them, tell that story, because this world needs more fires like that, souls brave enough to defend what is good. And if you are an Aries listening to these words, know this: your power doesn't live in aggression, it lives in conscious compassion. Keep protecting what's right, but don't forget to protect your own heart. Sometimes justice isn't a shout, it's the calm breath of someone who refuses to compromise with the dark. And when Aries understands that peace itself can be a form of battle, they step into a higher realm of their journey, where fire is no longer just energy for action, but the pure, purposeful force of light. Because when Aries feels injustice, their peace becomes their mission. And in that moment, their flame no longer just warms, it becomes a storm, bold, radiant, and powerful enough to bring light to places that have never known it before. There are moments when the world seems to stop moving. Every sound fades, until all that's left is the quiet rhythm of a single breath, the sound of endurance. For Aries, that's the moment they reach the edge of their patience. No one sees it, no one hears it, but inside, a storm is forming. Aries isn't the type to anger easily. In truth, they can stay silent for a long time, watching carefully, listening even to what's left unsaid. They don't want every conflict to turn into a battle. They want to believe people can change, that truth can be seen without violence. But there comes a day when their silence hits its final limit, when words no longer matter, and only the raw energy of truth demands to be set free. That storm isn't born from hatred. It's born from truth held back too long. When Aries gets angry, it's not the anger of ego. It's the voice of a soul that has endured too much injustice, too many lies. They don't erupt to hurt anyone. They erupt to free themselves from the chains of silence. Even divine fire has limits. And when those limits are crossed, it no longer burns, it transforms into light. In Buddhist teaching, anger itself isn't a sin. The problem isn't the emotion, it's what we do with it. When anger is purified by awareness, it becomes wisdom. When it's illuminated by compassion, it becomes truth. That's what Aries does. They turn emotion into action, pain into awakening. For them, anger isn't destruction, it's honesty in its rawest form. If you've ever seen an Aries cross that line of patience, you'll know this. Their eyes change. Their voice deepens. Each word cuts through fog like a blade. Not loud, not chaotic, but powerful enough to stop you cold. They don't speak to win, they speak to release. And when they are done, they return to silence, a silence as clear and calm as a lake after the storm. Aries teaches us that no one can stay gentle forever. Even the kindest hearts have limits. Sometimes too much patience is how we abandon ourselves. And when the storm comes, it doesn't just destroy, it renews. After the storm, everything becomes clear. The false falls away, and what remains is truth. the truth of feeling, of dignity, of loyalty. Inside the anger of Aries lies a message for us all. Listen to yourself before it's too late. Don't let your heart turn into a storm just because others don't value your silence. Silence can be beautiful, but endless silence becomes self-harm. Let your voice rise, not from rage, but from truth, from compassion, from light. Have you ever stayed silent too long, and when you finally spoke, what changed inside you? Did that silence teach you something about the limits of kindness, of love, of yourself? For Aries, the storm is never the end. It's the beginning of a new chapter, because only when the fire is released can the soul be reborn. And from the ashes of what once was, Aries learns to smile again, to love again with a calmer heart, because after every storm, there comes a gentler truth, a place where love no longer seeks revenge, but chooses to let go, to heal, where the flame no longer burns to destroy, but glows softly, to warm. And in that quiet warmth, a new journey begins, the journey of leaving with peace, the art of letting go. In the light, leaving is an art not everyone understands. People often think walking away means losing, giving up, or failing at love. But for Aries, leaving isn't an escape, it's an act of preserving the dignity of the heart. They don't walk away because the love has died. They walk away because they know that some things, if held too tightly, will only wound both souls. When an Aries decides to leave, there are no shouts, no floods of tears, no echoes of blame. There is only silence, a silence heavy as ashes, yet warm like the final glow of fire in the night. They don't need to say goodbye, their eyes say everything. They don't slam the door, their silence closes it for them. In that moment, you can feel the maturity of the soul. Letting go is not denial, it's the courage to step beyond the illusion that love alone can save everything. Aries knows that sometimes love isn't enough to make someone stay. Sometimes staying is no longer proof of loyalty, but a refusal to grow. Because true love does not chain, it breathes. It needs space. It needs light. They don't leave because they stopped caring. They leave because they finally care enough to love themselves. After too many wounds, Aries learns that even kindness must have boundaries. When the heart gives too much without return, it begins to dry out. And in that emptiness, they discover something miraculous, quiet power of stopping at the right time. Letting go doesn't make them weaker. It brings them home, strong, free, and whole again. In Buddhist wisdom, letting go doesn't mean turning away from life. It means releasing attachment, the expectations that cause suffering. Aries lives this truth deeply. They can love with passion, but they do not cling. When the moment comes, they light an invisible candle within, whisper a thank you to the memories, and walk forward in peace. No hatred, no regret, only a prayer for both hearts to find calm again. For Aries, leaving is an act of healing. They don't walk away to punish, but to protect what remains of their heart, the part that still believes in love, still hopes, still wants to be kind. They know that staying in something lifeless only makes the soul lose its way. So they choose to go, to choose light, to choose peace. If you've ever watched an Aries walk away, you'd know this. They leave no trace of anger, only the echo of a love that once burned bright. They are souls who know when to end a chapter, so that the book of life can keep being written. Yes, it may hurt to watch them go, but in that step lies something sacred, a deep respect for what love once was. If you are an Aries, remember this. Your pause does not diminish your goodness. It proves you've learned the greatest lesson of all, that love is not about holding on. It's about understanding. Letting go at the right time is the wisdom of the heart, a quiet declaration that you deserve peace. Have you ever left someone, not because the love was gone, but because staying meant betraying yourself? If you have, you know that feeling, the ache and the clarity. It hurts to walk away, but it shines, because you realize loyalty to yourself is the highest form of love. When Aries learns how to leave, they also learn how to lead, because in every step forward, a new light is born. A light no longer dependent on others, but radiating from within. And in that light, their sacred fire shines brightest. Between the warmth of the flame and the stillness of the night, something divine unfolds. No more tears, no more regrets, only the breath of someone who has finally touched freedom. And from that quiet place, the story of Aries moves deeper into a realm where strength is no longer about holding on, but about guiding, illuminating the way for themselves and for those still lost in the dark. Sometimes we only truly grow up after walking through the fires that life sets before us. Aries knows this better than anyone. Every betrayal, every fall, they don't stay down for long. They rise quietly, brush off the ashes of pain, and move forward stronger, calmer, and brighter, as if their soul has just been reborn. Some call Aries a warrior, but deep within, they are warriors of light. They don't fight to prove themselves, they fight to protect their faith, to guard the good that still exists in a changing world. They have believed too fast, loved too deeply, and hurt too much, and yet their pain never hardens them. It awakens them. Instead of striking back, they observe. Instead of judging, they begin to understand. And from that awakening, their true leadership emerges, not from power, but from compassion. To lead for Aries isn't to stand above. It's to stand firm when everyone else has fallen. It's to take responsibility, to clear the path by example. They don't lead with orders, they lead with energy. They don't inspire with speeches, they inspire with how they live. Authentic, steady, kind. Every scar on an Aries soul becomes a small lantern, lighting the way for those still lost in darkness. They know if they have survived the storm once, they can help others survive theirs. Those who have walked through pain carry a special light in their eyes. Aries has that light. Not the blinding light of victory, but the soft glow of compassion. When they look at someone broken, they don't see weakness, they see a reflection of who they once were. They come closer not to teach, but to share. I've been there, I understand. Sometimes that one sentence is enough to save someone. In Buddhist wisdom, there's a truth. Only those who dare face their own fire can ever be free. Because when we stop fearing our own darkness, we stop wanting to hurt others. Aries embodies this. They've looked straight into their anger, their pain, their longing to be understood, and they didn't run. They learned to tame the flame, to make it warm instead of wild. They turned the cracks in their heart into openings for light to enter. The kindness of Aries doesn't disappear after pain, it evolves. It's no longer a kindness that can be taken for granted, but one that has boundaries, wisdom, and power. They don't give everything away, they give what truly matters. They don't protect everyone, they protect what's worth protecting. And that's how they lead their life, with awareness. If you've ever turned your pain into purpose, you know this truth. Every wound is an invitation to become gentler, not bitter, stronger, not colder. Because real strength isn't about how much you can endure, but how much you can still love after being hurt. Aries doesn't just survive the fire, they become it. A fire that lights paths for others, that warms tired souls, that burns just enough. Never to destroy, they become a symbol of rebirth, proof that a broken heart can still become a source of light for the world. And in the end, they realize the greatest treasure isn't victory, nor revenge, but gratitude. Gratitude toward those who once hurt them, because through them, Aries learned patience. Gratitude toward themselves, because no matter how many times they were burned, they always chose to return as light. After all the storms and lessons, what remains isn't anger, but wisdom wrapped in gratitude. And from that gratitude, a new peace is born. And when peace settles into their heart, Aries no longer burns to conquer the world, they shine just enough to help other wandering souls find their way back home. There are souls born to learn how to love, and there are souls born to teach the world how to love wisely. Aries is one of those souls. After collisions, misunderstandings, heartbreaks, and trials, they are no longer the wild flame that burns just to prove itself. They become the flame that listens, that illuminates, that heals. Aries has burned before with anger, with disappointment, when their trust was betrayed or their kindness dismissed. But time and silence and the quiet work of the soul have taught them this. Fire was never meant to destroy, it was meant to illuminate. A fire that is truly strong no longer needs to burn anyone. It simply shines and darkness disappears on its own. When an Aries passes through your life, even for a short while, something inside you shifts. Maybe it's the way you see the world. Maybe it's a hope you thought was gone being rekindled. Or maybe it's simply the feeling of being seen, deeply, wholly, and without pretense. To love an Aries is to witness a sacred dance between strength and tenderness. In them lives the fire of a warrior and the gentleness of a healer's heart. There are days they blaze with conviction, and nights they stay silent just to preserve another's peace. Once you've seen that fire, you'll never be the same. The maturity of Aries doesn't come from worldly victories. It comes from learning when not to react. They were once untamed fire, and now they are conscious flame. They know when to speak and when to stay silent, when to rise and defend, and when to step back and forgive. Every act carries wisdom. Every step holds the breath of compassion. Aries has come to understand that peace is not a reward, it's the outcome of acceptance. Acceptance that everything happens for a reason, that even the deepest wounds are great teachers, and that everyone who ever caused them pain helped shape the version of themselves that now stands, stronger, wiser, and infinitely kinder. The world needs souls like Aries, those who dare to live honestly, to feel deeply, to love fully. They are living proof that kindness is not weakness, and compassion is not surrender. They walk through life like torchbearers, not searching for followers, but hoping their light helps someone else see the path ahead. And wherever they go, they leave healing fire behind, in a smile, in a word, in a silence that understands. In the final moment of their journey, when the flame in their heart has become pure, Aries smiles, no more anger, no more fear, only gratitude. Gratitude for those who crossed their path, for the lessons that shaped them, for the falls that taught them to rise. They understand now, true greatness isn't about how much you hold onto, but about what you've learned to release. And in that release, light is born. Thank you, beautiful soul, for listening, for feeling, for sharing your own light. May the flame in your heart remain sacred. May your spirit always rest in peace. And may your journey shine as brightly as the light you give to the world.